Welcome to Walker of Worlds podcast. My name's Rachel, and this is a podcast where we step behind the veil to take a look at some long lost and little known spooky stories and urban legends. Christmas has long been a traditional time to tell ghost stories, with the dark nights and a fire crackling in the grate. Gathering friends and family in the days surrounding the celebration to tell spooky tales has been an event which has stretched back for generations. So light a candle, make yourself a warm drink, and settle back for some seasonal stories of the paranormal. The picturesque county of Shropshire is the starting point for our trail of Christmas tales. Bordering Wales, the county is home to many beautiful towns and villages, as well as some stunning scenery. Nestled just a few miles from the Welsh border is the tiny village of Stipperstones. Sitting on a ridge of quartzite, the village takes its name from the distinct hill that towers over it. The Stipperstones is a distinctive hill in Shropshire. The ridge formed some 480 million years ago. During the last ice age, Stipperstones lay on the eastern margin of the Welsh ice sheet. The hill itself was not glaciated, though glaciers occupied surrounding valleys, and it was subject to intense freezing and thawing, which shattered the quartzite into a mass of jumbled scree surrounding several residual rocky tors. And it's the hill, or at least one of them, that we're here to talk about. The area is popular with walkers and rock climbers, with many stopping by the Stipperstones Inn for a cold pint once they've completed their route or climb. Plenty of these people have attempted the nearby Devil's Chair, one of the highest outcrops in the area. With its spooky and often windswept scenery, the Devil's Chair is the perfect place for such a story. Once upon a time, many moons ago, the devil was walking across the land with an apron full of stones. The stones were destined for the nearby Hell's Gutter, which the devil intended to fill in. But the devil apparently felt tired, so he used the stones to build himself a chair, sat down and rested for a while. However, once he was well rested and ready to continue, he stood and the strings of his apron snapped, sending the stones tumbling into the formation that we see today. But the story doesn't end there. On the longest night of the year, the winter solstice, it's said that the devil returns to his chair and summons the local ghosts, spirits and witches into his presence. There, atop the Stipperstones on the darkest night of the year, they choose their new king for the next 12 months. It seems that Old Nick is busy in the UK, especially around Christmas. About 10 miles north of Blackburn is Cromwell's Bridge. Stretching over the River Hodder, the bridge was built in 1562 for the princely sum of £70 and had to be completed by Michaelmas. The finished bridge was constructed to have a large central arch and two slightly smaller arches either side of it. Its road surface was cobbled and fairly narrow but wide enough to allow pack horses over. In 1648, Oliver Cromwell marched 8,000 men across this narrow bridge. While the bridge is closed to heavy traffic, you can still walk over it on foot. Legend has it that should you be walking near the bridge on Christmas Eve, don't look at it. For the devil uses that day to cross the bridge, and if you look him in the eye, he'll take your soul. And of course, the bridge has a handful of other names, including the Devil's Bridge. Another tale associated with it comes from around 1690, when the Reverend Thomas Jolly wrote the following. Not long since one Richard Atkinson, a profound drunken bailiff, who was the one that reproached and cursed the faithful servants of Christ, riding over Hodder Bridge, was lifted off his horse, turned thrice about, and thrown into the river by an invisible hand, when he was taken dead. It was supposed that he was dead before he came into the water. As he lay dead, his wife confessed that the evening before he told her that the devil brought him home and said he would fetch him shortly. We work hard, but the devil works harder, especially around Christmas. Dewsbury is a market town in West Yorkshire. With a population of 63,000 souls, the town is listed in the Domesday Book and at one point was a mill town heavily involved in the wool industry. Sitting on the River Calder, the Dewsbury Minster, formerly known as Dewsbury Parish Church. Built in the 13th century, the Bronte sisters' father Patrick was a curate here between 1809 and 1811. In 1850, the church's ceiling was raised so that an organ could be installed. During the 19th century, the church underwent further extensions and alterations. Hanging in the church's spire is a tenor bell known as Black Tom. The story goes that a local knight, Thomas de Suthill, is reputed to have fallen into a rage on hearing that a servant boy had failed to attend church that week. He grabbed the boy and hurled him into the mill pond where the boy drowned. Stricken with remorse for his actions, and as an act of penance, de Suthill paid for a new tenor bell for the parish church, now Dewsbury Minster. The bell inherited the knight's name, Black Tom. Black Tom asked for two things when the bell was installed. One, that it would toll during his funeral service. The second thing that he asked for was a little on the bizarre side. Every Christmas Eve, in order to keep evil and the devil at bay, the bell is rung once for every year. The tradition started in 1434, so the bell was rung 1,434 times. The tradition has to end exactly at midnight. This year, the bell will be rung 2,025 times, a process which takes around 90 minutes to complete. The tradition is known as the Devil's Knell. The current tower captain for Dewsbury Minster is Derek Johnston, and he's taken part in this bizarre tradition since 2008. He leads a team of bell ringers who each ring Black Tom 100 times, starting at around 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve and ensuring that the last toll rings out in the first seconds of Christmas Day. Performing the Devil's Knell creates two challenges for the bell ringers: speed and longevity. They take it in turns to ring 100 times, meeting targets set by Mr. Johnson, who has carefully created charts. He says, throughout the years there have been several ways of recording this. One was a chart which has each year as a number on it in blocks of 100, and somebody's crossed off each year as they went along. We then have the 100 system, where each person has counted their own 100 with an adjudicator alongside them to make sure they don't miss any, and then they've signed off each 100 on a sheet. And then finally, we've got an electronic version where I've got an electronic counter on a wheel and a display which keeps a record of exactly where we are on the count. Being the person who rings Black Tom at the end is stressful because you've got to make sure that the bell stops. This is not easy to do because different members of the team ring and they have to try to ring it at a certain speed. It's the heaviest bell and it's supposed to be rung at a funeral pace. The sound of Black Tom on Christmas Eve can be heard across Dewsbury and up to 2 miles away, says Mr. Johnston. It's popular with local residents who sometimes pop in to hear what all the fuss is about and discover Sir Thomas's terrible story. In 1986, the Royal Mail created a series of Christmas stamps showing heritage traditions, with the Devil's Knell featuring on one of the stamps. Do they believe that Sir Thomas fulfilled his penance yet? Absolutely not, and Black Tom will continue to ring out every Christmas Eve for the foreseeable future, ensuring that the devil does not ruin Christmas. And if you want to take a look at this tradition, there are videos on YouTube where they filmed the whole process from start to finish, so you've got around 90 minutes to 2 hours of a bell being continuously rung. We're ending our run of Christmas stories by returning to Shropshire. Bells feature in a lot of Christmas legends, and this one is no different. Bowmere Pool lies 4 miles south of Shrewsbury and is surrounded by picturesque woods and farmland which gently undulate towards the horizon. But everything isn't as it seems at Bowmere Pool. Legend has it that an entire village lies beneath the surface. As with many Christmas time stories, the tale involves religion, in this case the fact that the inhabitants of the city refused to convert to Christianity. The local priest told them that no good would come of their behaviour. The locals continued with their behaviour, bar a few who chose to worship God in a small chapel. One December had been far wetter than normal, and while gathering wood, the priest noticed a problem. The dam that held back the water was beginning to give way. The priest ran to the village and begged them to cut a channel to help funnel the water away, but the locals refused as it was their winter festival and they didn't want to stop their fun. The priest gave up and went to his chapel. Despite the weather, the parishioners gathered to celebrate Christmas Eve Mass. During the service, there was the sound of an almighty roar and the water raced through the church before flooding the village. The story continues that if you're passing by Bowmere Pool on Christmas Eve, you'll hear the ghostly sound of a bell ringing out. Many of the tales surrounding Christmas are a classic retelling of good triumphing over evil, and these ones are no different. We hope that you have a very Merry Christmas and a spooky New Year. Thank you so much for listening. If you like your books a little on the spooky side, please feel free to check out our website at www.roswellpublishing.co.uk. And until next time, stay spooky.